Greetings. So, on this very special episode of Parinama Method read alongs, we are going to read Chronic Pain and Suppressed Emotions. Now, this is a really important section, and it's kind of in kind of in this place 104 in the book, a place where you're just going to find it as you're reading along. But this is a super important topic as it relates to the entire book, which is chronic pain and its relationship with suppressed emotions. And the thing about it, and actually, before we get started, let's do a little deep breath in and out. Just kind of land here for a second and get ready because this is a pretty big topic. And before I give any context, I'm just going to start reading. This is it looks longer. I don't know how long it's going to take to read, but I'm going to start by reading and then I'm going to talk a little bit about it. And I'm going to talk about a couple things which are I'm going to talk a little bit about my own experience with this, potentially some of the research that supports it, and we're going to take it from there. So here we go. Ready or not. So pain. Pain. Okay, you ready? Pain protects us. It directs our attention and prioritizes our actions. Like the shadow of each hub, when it's acute, it helps us, but when it's chronic, it hijacks us. Chronic pain can leave us adrift in despair, having cut away our mental anchor. It creates feelings of hopelessness and immobilization and can feel like a betrayal, being trapped in your own body, which with the sense that living a full life is no longer possible. When chronic pain receives a therapeutic diagnosis without resolving the pain itself, the sense of limitation can be devastating. If doctors, therapists, chiropractors, massage therapists, and alternative medicine have been unable to provide relief, things can indeed feel hopeless. So the beginning part here, which is the pain protects us, it directs our focus to and prioritizes it. So, for really practical examples, it's like if you touch something burning, you yank your hand away so it doesn't continue to be damaged. That is just one. I mean, the examples are pretty much endless and hopefully don't require exhaustive exhaustive more examples of it. It's even when we're sick and in pain, that pain forces us hopefully to rest. And if we don't rest, it escalates, until we're giving ourselves the care and attention and kindness, in a sense, that we need. We need. So in this, in talking about chronic pain here, I'm going to talk about my experience with it, and I'm going to talk about how it has worked with Parinama. After I read a little bit more, I think I just want to stop to take note of that one. It's kind of quick notion, which is with the shadows. The point of the shadows is that fear, shame, guilt, anger, none of these things are bad. Anger is corrective. If you get angry, it's looking at how maybe your dignity or how you've been wronged somehow. And that's kind of the corrective response of our integrity and our dignity, anger is. And, and that's also in terms of a chronic issues, if there is no outlet for that to be expressed, that it'll come up later and leave us feeling, flawed, right? The thing is, the chronic aspects of guilt, of shame, all this of the shadows leaves us feeling like we're, compounds this incorrect notion that there's something wrong with us. And pain is the same thing, which is in its acute form, it's like absolutely essential. Like we wouldn't want to live in a life without pain because we'd be walking into cars and leaving our hands on hot stoves and putting ourselves in danger and not feeling anything. In fact, I think there are like diagnoses of conditions where people don't feel danger and it's really bad for them. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to keep reading. So, when our demanding careers and tight schedules don't allow the time for inconvenient emotions, pain can slow us down and provide so called acceptable reasons for rest. And here I'm still talking about physical pain. This is reminiscent of parents who are distant with emotional comfort but can nurture physical injury and illness in their child because it falls under the duty of physical care. Perhaps we notice that back pain flare ups seem to happen when the stakes are the highest. If we allow ourselves to listen, the pain has a voice. I'm nervous about whether this project will succeed. I don't know if I can handle this stress any longer. Or I'm afraid of looking stupid. As the voice of the repressed emotional self, it will be vulnerable. As an adaptation, it became a part of us early in life when we didn't have tools or support for processing feelings and emotion. Pain makes staying present and calm difficult because its function is to create urgency and narrow our focus on resolving the discomfort. And it's very good at its job. For folks suffering from chronic pain, an understandable strategy and response is disconnection and dissociation from the body. There's a common tendency to distract ourselves from our bodies when pain and discomfort are overwhelming. You know, this is the first time I've read something where I'm not sure how clear this is. I feel like it's clear to me. So, okay, I'm gonna kind of I don't know if it I just read it and it didn't feel completely coherent um in terms of making its point. So so the first paragraph is about pain as being an important thing in its acute form of protection. And then in chronic pain is becoming incredibly frustrating and actually creating like a sense of despair in the fact that it feels untouchable and it feels like it's just overtaking us, like our body is like being a like traitor or working against us. And then the next paragraph kind of like I don't know if this feels like a natural transition to anyone, but it's like in our demanding careers and tight schedules that don't allow for us to have emotions, pain can slow us down and provide acceptable reasons to rest. So this is about to sound like hypochondria, right? It's not. It's kind of a subconscious form of hypochondria. So, and this is even to like, let's talk about hypochondria. The whole notion that needing attention, like they just want attention, is being something that's like dismissal or even undermining somebody is really, I mean, let's as adults take a look at that and realize like if somebody needs attention, they need attention. It's such a deep seated emotional need to feel that somebody is attending to you and listening to you. And so the disdain for that is blocking us from connection with our own needs, our own need for attention, our own with it. Because in the second hub, one of the things, neediness as like an adaptation becomes something we disdain. So when we're adapted in the second hub, one of the signs may be that we have kind of like a discomfort and disdain that is like indicative of a like of a lower having a lower capacity for handling emotion. because it's like as soon as emotions start to surge or we see them in others, we find them kind of like disgusting or uncomfortable. So one of the things is if emotions are going to happen and they become really strong because they really are guiding us in some ways, like our feelings are, persistent feelings about situations, or, our gut feelings are guiding us. And when they're untenable, and we're believing that a situation that needs to, or sometimes it has to be, we have to remain in it. Our body will start, in some cases, to talk to us. So, as it is like a voice of the repressed emotional self, like the physical pain, like back pain. If we can't listen to our emotions, and we're about to do the techniques and exercises for emotional literacy, this is one of the kind of taxes. Chronic pain is like a tax we pay for having low emotional literacy, because our strong feelings are going to be happening, and our body's intelligence, our subconscious intelligence, will redirect that discomfort and that pain into a format that we can process and we can attend to. And that is, in many cases, not always. I don't want to make anybody feel blamed for this, but it becomes physical pain. And yeah. I don't know if that just made it more confusing, but I'm going to keep reading. So, so yeah, I mean, a lot of this would be just so much easier if I was talking with somebody and they could kind of slow my roll or ask clarifying questions. So apologies. I'm just talking to myself. Yeah. So some folks will say that they don't get angry or lonely, or they altogether deny other difficult emotions, yet will be familiar with a suite of chronic ailments like migraines or back pain. In Healing Back Pain, the Mind-Body Connection, rehabilitation medicine practitioner and professor John Sarno called the syndrome of denied emotions shifting into chronic pain and health problems tension myositis syndrome, TMS. Sarno noticed the following traits in patients who tended to have physical pain in lieu of expressing emotions. I've added the adaptations in parentheses. One thing I want to add here, and this is like just for like the professionalism of the editing, is that John Sarno was a MD, medical doctor, practicing in Manhattan, teacher at NYU, and he wrote the Healing Back Pain book. So his credentials are like pretty legitimate, and so I feel like that's kind of an important point to bring up, because he was in this unique position of recognizing what we're going to find is like high achievement personalities, because he's working in Manhattan with high achievement personalities in high volume. So he's able to see these syndromes and notice notice the pattern. So I'm going to say so Sarno noticed the following traits in patients who tended to have physical pain in lieu of expressing emotions. I've added the adaptations in parentheses. Are the following. So perfectionism, people pleasing, stoicism, shrinking, rage and hostility, anxiety and fear, dependency, inflating, and tendency to be highly polarized with the severe judgment, low self-esteem combination. These were so just a reminder, these are the qualities that he saw in terms of the personality types of people with high incidence of the TMS, which is the like back pain. His book, he goes into this really interesting about the body-mind connection here, and how ulcers had previously been like the societal malaise about how stress showed up in the body. And then it became like socially known and sanctioned that an ulcer was a body-mind connection that was associated with stress. And stress is like it stresses the body mind connection um, in simple terms. So it's like calling out the fact that that's not like an environmental stressor in terms of like a toxin or a physical assault to the body. That it's literally like feelings, stresses feelings. So, understandably, accepting this can take some getting used to. But as those suffering from chronic pain know, the pain will be waiting until you choose to face it. Sarno's method involved an initial step of identifying the syndrome and accepting it. And this one step alone has tremendous effect on chronic pain. The next step is to consciously surface and process feelings and emotions. So this goes back to the thing about, so what I'm saying about ulcers is that the first step with the chronic pain body mind connection and curing it is calling out the fact that the pain is trying to talk to you. Calling out might be the wrong expression actually here. It might be like, I'd say more that the first thing is accepting that this is a voice that's trying to communicate, that this is actually related to feelings that are not being allowed to be expressed. So the first step is to realize like this is a manifestation of that. This is how this is arising. And actually, this might as well as ever be a good time for me to talk about this. I used to have absolutely excruciating back pain to the point that I was about to go into surgery. I'd had physical therapy, chiropractor, I was a daily yoga practitioner. I was like extraordinarily healthy in how I ate, active lifestyle, and I had excruciating back pain. I had back pain that where I would have to crawl and that I would be, before working from home was a thing, I'd be like working from home um, because I couldn't walk and it would go out. My back would just go out. And as somebody, if before we cultivate emotional literacy, the connection between really activating experiences and things that are like very deeply upsetting to us, a lot of pressure, a lot of self-doubt, a lot of criticism, overwhelm, all things that if we are not literate, then we can't begin the process of processing, and we can't begin the process of actually doing the things to comfort ourselves and to assuage um, the situation, and even present ourselves with a sense of faith that there's things that we're due to remediate them. And so because of this, it just like the sense of chronic pain and the sense of TMS feels like it comes flying out of nowhere. And so yeah, before I practiced this, I was in like, I mean, I would have, and there's this thing where it's like, wow, this just always seems to flare up at the most inopportune time, and it's like, and that connection, I mean, I wasn't making that connection. I had periods of time where I just remember sitting in the parking lot of a Walgreens where I'd gotten some kind of like steroid or something that to take, and I'd been in pain for weeks, and now the chiropractor wasn't providing any relief. And I remember sitting there and just feeling like, oh my God, like this is it. I'll never be able to rely on my body ever again. The rest of my life, my body is going to have this thing that I can't control that shows up whenever. I won't be able to do physical work. And that's kind of an odd thing, the feeling that physical work is going to be off the table for us is like, is like is pretty intense, is like a real grief, and even the thing like, oh, exercise is always going to have to be this kind of thing now that's going to be like severely like, like modified, and all these things that I enjoyed were no longer going to be things that I could rely on. This is not the case. Turns out this is not the case. So anyway, for me, and potentially for you, I strongly believe it's available for everybody. Um, so Now, this is about consciously processing and surfacing emotion. So, if you can, listen to what your body is trying to say. The chronic pain is real. It's not saying the pain is not real. When addressing it as solely a physical injury or infection doesn't provide relief, it can be confusing. This phenomenon is called biophysiosocial, meaning that the biological factors play a role, but social and psychological factors are also involved. When we are detached from our emotions, physical pain can signal the path back to finding peace through acknowledging truths that can be difficult. But by facing it, we can ultimately gain access to having more energy and, in many cases, can bring an end to chronic, mysterious physical pain. Communicate with your body and ask pain, stiffness, and discomfort directly, but gently. If there's something that they want to tell you, bring some movement, like gentle rocking, into the affected area when possible. I provide more practices to find and express emotions in the techniques and exercises that come next. In addition, there are also multiple journal practices that I will call emotional hygiene and the daily practice of cleaning out residual emotions. See chapter 11. Instead of actively agonizing against pain, it can be surprisingly powerful to simply accept that we're in it. Beware of how self-talk can express impatience and frustration when the body needs patience and encouragement the most. This is not always doable, but I introduce this as a possibility. When we bring more dynamism and responsiveness into adaptations and holding patterns, it can be like removing load-bearing beams from how our relationships function. When a daughter stops filling the air with polite chatter, the silence can be deafening. When a wife finally asks her spouse for the affection she craves, an outright rejection may be shocking. Perhaps a husband wants to be more emotionally expressive, and when he is, his spouse's disdain may cause deep pain. Remember that adaptations are early compensations for our environments. When we shift holding patterns, we can disrupt the balance of adult ecosystems that have been created in the image of the early dynamics of home. So this ends the adaptations and holding patterns section in the 6th chapter, which is the second hub. And we're about to move into the techniques and exercises, which I'm really excited about. But I want to take just a little bit more time with chronic pain, because I want to talk about my own experience with it, because I think that it can be very confronting, the notion that it's like all in your head, which is like really can feel cruel. It can feel cruel to be like, this physical pain that's arising is a product of, is not something that is like, it almost feels like maybe it's like something we're doing to ourselves. So and that feels mean. Like that feels like a cruel thing to say, oh, this pain that you're having, it's your fault. Like blame. And so understandably, the notion of TMS and the notion of chronic pain being associated to unexpressed emotions can be a little bit of a road to travel down. And for some folks, I've been in situations now with this, having written this book and knowing this and having life-changing life-changing outcomes on this. I like physical pain. Actually, I'm going to talk about my relationship with it in a second. And there are people that will be having exactly what I understand as TMS. Like they will be expressing their anxieties about people's opinions of them and feel like they're falling short and having crippling back pain, being at times like even hospitalized for it. And I will not speak up. I do not interject this as a notion. to people if I don't sense that they're ready. If I listen to somebody and I can hear that they're still very much in the kind of chase for um like the fit, like the surgery or the treatment or whatever, and I might say, I might even say like, hey, I used to have pain. And if there's no curiosity, if they go, where I'll say I used to have that as well. If they don't ask me what I did, I don't tell them, because this is something I really think that this is you really have to be ready for this. And for me, I had to do absolutely everything and have nothing work. And and it wasn't, like, it was like, wow, I wasn't connecting the dots of the fact that when I was under incredible stress, that I'd have the back pain, and then I'd go and I'd do something, that like totally shifted my life completely, like say like move to India or whatever, and it's like the back pain would just be gone and I'd forget that I'd had it in a way. So, I mean, it was kind of, there was something convenient about that, with where no actual revelation was taking place. And it would just like show up again when I entered a situation that put me in the same, like started activating my, like my own anxieties or my own agitations, my own frustrations, my own insecurities, my own like feelings of being super out of alignment with my life, feeling disrespected, whatever, the list goes on. And then it would come back. And so now the activation for me that causes the pain to resurface. So I'm going to talk about this now, not just that the pain is something. I mean, I almost never have back pain, and I used to have it all the time. Never, like almost never, close to never. But I'll tell you when I do have it. I do have it when I'm out of integrity with myself. And it's hard now because sometimes it's something I feel really bad about having to stop doing. So now it's kind of a compass for me, where when I start to feel it, the stiffness, the immobility, I know what it's telling me. And it's telling me I really have to rethink and redirect whatever it is I'm doing. So now it's like a form of emotional literacy. It's like having a intelligence within me that helps me stop second guessing myself. So if I'm in a situation, say like in an engagement that's paying me a lot of money and it's doing that, and I'm starting to have that stiffness and immobility. And for me, it's immobility. Stiffness is like a huge thing for me in terms of like TMS, like trapped emotions. I think it is for a lot of people, honestly. It's like, I mean, it's like, come on, it's what flexibility and like yoga, why that's like releasing. I mean, yeah, come on. But I just want to say that it's kind of an interesting relationship, because it's shifting it from being a betrayal to it actually being an ally. And it being a indicator that there's something that I need to examine. And yeah. And so in the next section, we're going to talk about emotional literacy practices. I'm really excited about this because there's kind of two sides. One is the comforting and the other is the exploration. So it's both sides to what we need for the second hub. And yeah, this is an important one. I just want to say thank you. If you've made it this far and you're watching this, it's really, it means a lot to me that you're along for the ride on this. I did in the last week kind of slow down a little bit with reading these. I've been feeling like a lot of this tension about getting these done, but they're going to get done. They're going to get done. We're going to get these done. and or I'm going to get these done. We're going to get these done, and we're going to keep working through this. I think that for me, one of the things that's important about this is, the book is in such early days, and even in my own interfacing with it as a physical like entity, is something that exists in the world versus something I was creating. So in a way, it was really a kind of manifestation of kind of my own sort of experience working with it and putting it together. So now that I'm working with it as a book, like I'm not building any part of it, I'm actually interfacing with it. And I'm finding, quite frankly, it's pretty complete. When I was writing it, it wasn't. Like, it was always being kind of reshaped because it was like something else would come in that would like kind of like help refine a thinking on something. And for right now, at this point in time, and I imagine for conceivable, that it really is like there's just something to it. It's really special, I think, as far as whatever kind of like confluence, like confluences came through to create this, which is a whole other story. But I just want to say that I really appreciate that this is a process that you care about, that you're interested in, and I want to just really reinforce what's possible with it. I think if you're in it, those small openings that are created are evidence in and of itself of what it is and what it can do. And it builds little by little, like little by little, little openings. But this practice gathers momentum, and it's deeply transformational, but it's really important to be patient with it, because this isn't a quick fix. This is a lifetime of integrating a practice and a reshaping of ourselves. And as a result of that, even me learning what this thing is happening right now. As I'm hearing from people, as people are having different experiences with it. I mean, this is very early days for this, and that's something that it's like hits me, and I'm like, God, yeah, it's early days for this, and here we are together, working through it. But yeah, it's really hard work, but the rewards are absolutely extraordinary. If I talk to the version of myself that was predates this work, it's just what's possible in terms of what it feels like to be alive is absolutely beyond comprehension. And even the things that, if I talk to myself, when I look at this, like I talk to myself, say like 5, 10, 20 years ago about what I thought to want. I think that's one of the things about a lot of the manifestation practices, or there's a lot of, talking about like how to kind of create, is that we only know how to like ask, or like a lot of times it's like asking for the things we know how to ask for, but it's more feelings that we want, and the circumstances that bring those feelings in the most like economical and efficient way very likely could be incredibly different than what we know even to consider or to even conceive of. And in my experience with this, what we're doing is we're evaluating the patterning It's blocking our joy, blocking our ability to feel free, blocking the ability to see through illusions about the way things are. Because the thing is, these patterns, these adaptations in each of these hubs form our sense of reality. And when we do work here, when we do work here about with a patterned and constructed notion of what reality is, and we see how malleable and how dynamic and how alive we are in this very, very, very special way. It's hard work, but the rewards are defy explanation. So I'm going to leave it here. I could actually go on, but I want to take a break here because the next thing we're going to be going into is techniques and exercises. Really looking forward to doing that. Yeah, there's a little bit of reading in here too before we get there. I feel like that. Maybe I'll do that tonight. I feel up to it. It's Sunday right now. I don't know what day it is wherever you are, but send you lots of love wherever you are. And any comments that you make on this, I commit to answering, even if they're weird. And yeah, any interaction with these is really appreciated. So, but you don't have to do anything. I mean, I love a like, I love a comment. It's really like lovely. But you do you. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.